You are now entering the Luxecore Studios. And you've secured a seat for the Protecting Your Radius podcast. Here, we build connections from your contracting profession to some of the top bleeding edge products and services. Don't get deterred. Let's not delay. Here is your host, Nathan Downs.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Protecting Your Radius podcast. I'm your host, Nathan Downs. And on today's show, we have a friend of the show. I think some of the guys call multi-time guests friends. I would definitely call Mr. Matt Chiaradonna from JC Fence up in Massaschusetts a friend. Matt, how you doing, buddy?
Very well today, sir. How about yourself?
I'm great, man. I'm great. I wanted to talk to you, and we had a conversation when both of us were out of town last week or the week before about scheduling. And I'm seeing this pop up often for many people, especially those of us companies that are growing and rapidly growing. Scheduling seems to be a big sticky point for many of us because it's just hard. I think that's the best way to put it, right?
Absolutely.
There's no one size fits all to this conversation. And both of us are going to talk about different ways that we approach scheduling that matter to us and our organizations. But I thought it was really apropos. You have some really cool ideas and really cool concepts with how you do scheduling that I like, and I think it's pragmatic. And I felt like this was beneficial for me to continue to ask you questions. We talked over the phone, so I wasn't able to actually see a lot of this. So that's why I wanted you to come on the show today, Matt, and show me exactly what you were talking about and describing. And then, man, I'm just going to ask a bunch of questions, and we're going to see if with what JC Fence does on scheduling, maybe there's a handful of people out there that could get some value out of that. So again, welcome, buddy. I'm going to give you the floor. We're going to talk about, let's start with the scheduling side of it. So originally, how did JC Fence, like when you first got involved, what did scheduling look like? Like, what was the process and procedure for that?
So my grandfather was owner-operator, was in charge of the full schedule. He was looking at most of the jobs, which does help a little bit in scheduling when you're very familiar with all of the product and the customers. And we had a whiteboard, and it was with a black dry erase marker. And basically, we would just write down the names on the board, and every once in a while, he might throw some notes up next to it. And the date and time when he realized he was going to send a crew out there, he would write that up there. And you were constantly erasing and adding new names and flowing. But that was the way that our scheduling looked when I came in.
Yep. So 10 years ago, when I got into the contracting side, that was the same thing. Had a giant whiteboard on the wall, had all the names on there, and then we had sticky notes to denote, and the color would kind of give you an idea of when the project was planning on going. So if you saw a bunch of pink sticky notes, you have to go to yellow week. But if you saw a bunch of pink and yellow, you'd have to go to purple week.
Yeah.
It would just be this shuffle, and it was terrible. But it worked. It worked kind of. And then the next company I went to, we had folders, and I've talked to Tony Thornton about this because he lit up like a Christmas tree. When we were describing, every job had a folder, every folder had a home on the wall. And then when you got to the projects, you start moving the folder around, and that would be how we would know what was scheduled or what needed to be done, etc. Again, there was a whiteboard that corresponded with the folders. So even on the whiteboard, you'd have the whiteboard there and the folder, like a folder holder at the bottom. And then it just kind of hopped along the wall and things that, So again, there were so many things that I think could have been automated, could have been digitized. And that's where so many of these CRMs, and really that's the biggest one, even calendars. I mean, I saw some guys online talking about using like Calendly and some of these other services that you can get into just to understand, like, what do I have on the horizon, and how do I move these projects along and efficiently? Because why this conversation is important, Matt, and why I wanted to talk to you about it was because I am seeing more and more customers. They just are in so insistent on knowing when are we coming, what time of day we're going to be there. Like, it's like our biggest nightmare in construction is these people just will not let you go. Like, so are you going to be here at 8 o'clock next Tuesday?
I'm going to take the 3 days off to be there.
I don't know what's... I know, yeah. Like, and I'm like, I don't even know if we're going to show up at all. I mean, I have no idea, but you can't tell someone that. So how do we plan? How do we do that? And what's the evolution look like? So for you, and what we talked about on the phone, man, was you started working it into an Excel spreadsheet and kind of stepping that off, getting it off the whiteboard on an Excel spreadsheet. And then, of course, as we all know, like I said, if anybody out there uses CRM technology or any type of online cloud-based system, then there's steps along the way. So, I'm gonna give it to you, man. Yeah. What do you think on this Excel spreadsheet?
Yeah. No, I mean,
what's it look like? How's it work?
I'll show you. So you're hitting the nail on the head with everything that you're saying. It was just all of that. So unorganized, and you try to give people dates, and it was really hard to give them dates and then the variables. So stuff happens, and now you can't go there that day. So we want to mitigate that as much as possible, because it's an awful driver to, have the energy going. So like you said, we got off the whiteboard, and I'll share my screen. This is, iterations. It's been changing over time. This is the, I guess, most involved that it's ever been. I'll let me know when you see it. And
this will be riveting listening material. So if it drives you crazy to hear us talking about something, I'm going to describe. Matt and I will do the best we can to describe what we're showing. But at the same time, go to YouTube. This is always on YouTube, guys. You can see the video right there and go through every step of what Matt's describing. Just a reminder. So,
all right. And I'll do my best to paint some pictures with words here so that it doesn't just sound crazy. So the idea behind this is that we're going to want to give customers lead times. Here in the Northeast, what you're talking about has been for 15 years. Everybody has always wanted to know, what day are you going to be here? How long is it going to take? And so we need to know how many days of work we have projected on our work schedule. So what we're looking at here is a column that each estimator at the end of his estimation writes down how many days he thinks that project is going to take. And that's before we even got it. That's just to get a bid out the door. We keep track of that on this board in an Excel column, which adds up from top to bottom. And we color coordinated everything as far as the days go to the difficulty of the job. So if you've heard me talk before on Dan Wheeler's, we've implemented green jobs being good jobs. We like to call them here in Boston Fenway Parks, flat, open, easy. Harder jobs, which would require a more experienced crew. It's a little bit more difficult and it's going to take more time, is a yellow job. Red is just a terrible job. No one wants it, and we really have to overcharge for it. And so that's what these numbers are connotating, so that we have an idea of, to your point, those variables. It's 4 days, but it's red. Red is bad. Could be. Right. It helps us add up exactly how many days worth of work we have. And you can see right next to it that we're going to see, based off of a division problem, if we run 7 crews, then we have 15.79 business days worth of work ahead of us. We run 4 crews, we have 27.63 business days. So this first part was the most important thing, to be able to tell those customers who want to know about when you're going to come, that weather and material permit.
Right.
If you have a stock item, it's going to be about 20 business days from the date of your deposit to the date of the install. So that's the first most important thing, and that's the biggest part of, my opinion, scheduling. So we've accomplished that with this column here. We have the date that the deposit was received. This way, again, anybody looking at the schedule can see who should be priority, who should be planned, if possible, because they're the ones that have been waiting the longest. Next to that, we have our customer's name. This gets a little bit more in depth, but basically each color that you see here, we color coordinated them. This happened in the evolution on the whiteboard too. We started writing on the whiteboard in black, but then we had 8 or 9 crews and 3 or 4 estimators. No one knew who did what or who was going where. You were just looking at this big sea of black words. So we color coordinated the board when we were writing on the whiteboard so that we could start to disparage who's this crew, who is this estimator, just so that we knew better in planning. It gets harder to plan when you're planning for other jobs, right? If you didn't look at them all, like I said, my grandfather looked at them all. I didn't look at any of them, and I was planning the boards. I didn't know anything about them or who sold them. So this helped us get a little bit cleaner on planning because we knew who did what and what crews traditionally worked well with that project manager. So that was why we color coordinated things, so that we knew. Now they're color coordinated, but they also have a hyperlink. This can drive us down a rabbit hole, so I'll come back to the hyperlink afterwards. The hyperlink is important, but we'll get to it. We know our project manager. We know if DigSafe has been called. We want to know if we've had our DigSafe in, so that's a column on here. NA means that it hasn't been done yet, and DS means that DigSafe is called and there's a ticket pulled and this job's ready to be planned and go out the door. We have our material styles. Again, you're going to see color coordinations. Green means I have it in stock, or I ordered it and it already came in. Red means that we don't have this product right now, like walnut. We don't have walnut vinyl right now. It's on order. The crew who's planning the job, I should say the scheduler, doesn't always know everything that's in stock, right? But if it's red, they're not going to schedule something that we don't have, mitigating those issues, mitigating those problems. So I feel like that's an important piece for the person planning to know exactly what is and isn't in stock. We have our town, again, plan-wise, right? If we're going to plan 2 small jobs, I don't want someone to plan 2 small jobs looking at a board that says half a day. Then they plan it the day out. The installer's like, well, why do you have me driving from 35 miles north to 35 miles south of the shop? That's not going to work. So we need to know our location. We have our lead time at the date of the deposit so that, again, the scheduler can say, this is when we told them we would be there. Are we hitting that mark? It's a constant reminder. And then last but not least, as far as scheduling goes on this board, we're going to have our crews, the date that they're going to be there. They're also color coordinated. So now as we're looking at this, if we see a crew schedule, we know that that's not someone we need to worry about. We have them on the board. As we plan next, we're looking for the ones that don't have a name plan next to it and has a green mark here. And we're easing into scheduling. This evolved from my grandfather doing it and knowing everything to somebody else doing it, but my grandfather scheduling to, me, and then 3 estimators and more crews. So we've done all these things to cut out error in the long process. And last but not least, which isn't that big of a deal, but we also have on the Excel sheet the demand that would require. We have our basic panels, our basic posts. We have our wood, our vinyl, our chain link, and anything that we would need for this. We know how many panels, how many posts we need, just to give us a basic idea of what we should have in the yard or what needs to be ordered based off of what the demand is on the board at any given time. So that's the sheet. That's the evolution from, whiteboard to here.
You know what's funny, Matt, is as you're showing this and describing what's going on here, I noticed a lot of things that you said. It sounds like they were reactions to holes in the process, right? Like the putting the city on there. You don't think about it. Everything seems easy. I've got a half-day job and a half-day job. But when they're an hour apart, well, now it's unfeasible, production-wise. And I think that's something that when you're starting out and you're developing some type of system, whether it's just you and you're doing it and you're running your own schedule, I think anybody has to be aware of there's going to be changes that you'll make as soon as you see there's a hole there. There's a hole there. And then trying to fill the gaps, right? One thing that's pretty common right now, Matt, and I don't know if you've heard this online or some of the Facebook groups, but a lot of the contractors across the country right now are moving towards 4-day work weeks.
We've tried it here too.
Have you seen?
Yep. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
This year we implemented.
So we're going to swerve here. Yeah. So how'd that work?
Difficult.
Tell
It's super hard. I mean, I'm not going to lie. We started off with a vote, kind of talking with the leadership team. They all agreed it was worth trying. We brought it to our operations team. They all seemed pretty stoked about it. We decided we would try it, and scheduling is hard. I mean, we're trying our hardest to do it, and there are weeks that we make it happen. And then there are some weeks that it hits the fan. And then it's been raining so much in the Northeast that's throwing wrenches into it. So we're doing our best. We're keeping our guys around the 40 hours and we're trying to cut them. There's been a lot of great weeks where these guys have gotten more freedom than they've ever gotten, but we're not perfect at it. We're trying.
there's a couple companies that I know that are really, really large scale companies that do the 4-day work week, and they use that Friday as a flex day. And I've gone through, and this will probably be a whole nother episode down the road, but I've gone through explaining like where my concern was in doing that style, because I said the 5th day becomes all overtime. And, then you kind of get things out of whack. But they fought back and said, if you knew, like if you quantified jobs in a certain way and you bid them with certain expectations, that you could overcome that. And I was shown which I thought this was pretty cool. What did they say? They said, how many times do you see a job, Matt, come through where that person's like, I would love this to be done this week. But there's other people that want their job done that week, but they're not going to pay for it. But this person says that, and they're willing to pay. Now there's an opportunity where you could present something. And this is outside of like weather delays and stuff, because you've got this time built into the schedule to flex things in. I said, that's pretty cool. But like for us, why we're interested in moving towards something along that line is because everybody knows the bulkhead of our production is subcontractors. So like yesterday, it rained, and it rained half a day, but almost all the crews, except for one at the end of the day, but all the crews took the day off. That's fine if we're in a scenario where you can take off a Wednesday, but now you have that Friday open or that Saturday or whatever, right? You just flex the day. When I first started working with subcontractors, I had a bunch of these guys that didn't know. So this is the past 10 years, right? I had a bunch of guys that wouldn't treat it that way. They were like, well, no, I'm going to be off Saturday and Sunday. Yeah. And I would explain to them, I said, no, this is part of the deal. You actually have more fluidity as, doing what you're doing, but you have to be willing to take ownership. You're a subcontractor, so you have your own business, but you take ownership. If we can't work Wednesday and Thursday, that might mean we're working Saturday, or we might even work a Sunday. Like you decide how far out and how fast you want to get things done. But a lot of my subs started changing that when I just coached them a little bit and just suggested, like, man, if we lose a day, you could work Saturday, take the day, like as soon as you wake up and see that, take the day to do whatever you want. I mean, you can do that. And I said, now let us know, so we're not sitting there going, well, I see rain in the sky. I wonder if the guys are going to show up today.
And then the customer's falling.
Which that does. Exactly. That does happen though too. So, but nonetheless, we still try, just like you said, we're all trying to be better. We're trying to throw things against the wall, see what sticks. And I just thought that was funny. So
for over 30 years, Southwest Automated Security has been the premier provider of gate operators, access controls, CCTV, and so much more. Visit southwestautomated.com today, taking dealers to the next level.
I love the fact of you guys run different levels of crews over the year. So I think that's really cool to show. If you're running 4 crews at the time, you're 4 weeks out. If you're running 7 crews, you're 2 weeks out or whatever, right? But the hyperlink thing, I see on the sheet here, there's a lot of different links here, and I feel like there's something
there is. So basically
happening on your spreadsheet.
What this can be on anyone's phone. This can be in our office. You've probably seen me put some stuff on Instagram. We have a giant touchscreen TV that this is interactive on. And again, it's like part of my, to be able to touch this and move this and drag this. So up on my screen, I can just tap on any one of these jobs. And when I do, it is hyperlinked into my software. So the software that I created is going to immediately bring you to this job, this customer, their address, their home, the job, how much we charged for them, what we charged in labor, our drawing for the job is right there so that we know where our gates are going to go, our measurements. We've got our bill of materials ready to rock and roll. So we know what this customer needs to be ordered, to be kitted. The crews can access this from the field. Everybody sees it, our manufacturing shop, everything. So every name on that board is like, well, we're scheduling. What could that be? Okay, I see this material, but let's see more. You just click that link. It brings us right to the software. And, the world is kind of at your fingertips. If you want their invoices are here. Everything about this customer is right there. I'm the estimator on this, and we have a measurable that you have to have 100% pictures taken of the jobs that you look at so that the crews know what they're getting into. Wouldn't you know, the guy in charge who set the rule didn't take any pictures.
Sounds like Donnie would say the same thing. He's like, you told me to get in company cam and do all this, and then all of a sudden he's like, where is
I got my pictures up here.
Yeah, I was in a hurry.
Guys, I got a video up here. Don't worry, I don't need those pictures like you guys do. I'll remember. But yeah, so that's how that hyperlink works. And every one of the jobs as we get them gets hyperlinked back in, so that again, if you're out in the field or you're anywhere, you're looking at your job, bang, that's easier than that. My guys don't even need to look at the schedule, to be honest. With the software, when we schedule, they're getting an email for where they need to be. It's on their schedule. They're clicking a link from somewhere else. This is really for the office. This is for scheduling to know, where everything's going to go and to be able to quickly, more rapidly diagnose a job and schedule it correctly.
Right. So editor's note here, Matt's developed Elite Technique. What's the website for that?
EliteTechnique.com.
There you go. So as we're describing this, or you're watching it and looking at it, you understand what this is and where it comes from. But CRMs are CRMs. I mean, they're everyone does things differently, and some have more strengths towards one end of the business than others, for sure. I think I've seen that after looking at, I don't know, maybe 4 dozen different CRM systems over the last years, and using 5. I've used 5 different CRMs, Matt, in the last 8 years. So with that, I know, right? Like, because you start thinking of like data migration and all those things. And it's brutal. It's brutal. But why I say that is, your Excel spreadsheet is a traditional Excel spreadsheet, but most CRMs have like a scheduling calendar or some type of calendar aspect. So I'm sure yours does as well.
Yeah, to your point.
He's pulling it up.
What we've got is a calendar schedule, basically the exact same thing that you would be able to schedule in your calendar. Every single job. You can see here on the right, the viewers or listeners can't, but you can access every person in the software. So you're going to set up every single user as a user. Picture it like an app, right? So you log in, you get a username and a password. Everybody that works for you has a username and a password. You set the levels of what they can and can't see, whether you only want them to see documents that have been assigned to them, or they're the administrator and you want them to see everything. They have an email tied to the software, and their calendar is tied to the software. So we schedule them for when they're going to go out and install a job. And when we do, it sends them an email telling them that it was scheduled, and they have the link to be able to get right into the job. They can view their calendar in here at any given time. We can schedule our estimators on their calendars and view just estimators. We can schedule our install team. For them, we can schedule the shop, the manufacturing warehouse. We want you to work on this bill of material at this time on this day. And when you're done, mark it done and tell us that it's finished. And we have a full communication system between our shop and us, the installers and us. The only time we get into trouble, which you brought up, is the subcontractors. Do we really want the subcontractors in our software? Our answer so far has been no. So we haven't given them the access to it. Something in the future I'd love to make is a special user, right? Edit that user down to a more minor role of seeing things to where they just get the basics, but then give them a username and password. Why not? Our customers have the ability to create a username and password for our software. So when we send a quote out to a retail customer, they can log in and they have a minimal amount of stuff, but they can see their pending proposals. They can see their confirmed quotes. They can make payments and stuff like that. So, but yeah, this is the calendar system and scheduling system within the software.
Yeah. And it's very basic. And I don't say, I know
it's a compliment because I made this as basic as possible on purpose. We're fence guys. We're not tech guys. So I don't want non-basic. I want big fat buttons like Dan Wheeler says.
Yes. We want it to be easy. And when you're working with any type of software solutions, the easier it is, the more efficient and fast things can go. And this is all about speed of business. I talk about this all the time. Learned it from Eddie Gibbs over at Ameristar. Speed of business. How fast can we get things done to produce results? And then we get paid faster, and then it just continues to snowball forever. But I love that. Looking at this, Matt. One question I had. I see that on the calendar you can isolate different areas and different people to kind of give yourself different screenshots and snapshots and stuff. Is this all real time? Like in Elite Technique, everything's real time. If you're in the office working on this, like any good CRM, I'm assuming it's pumping it out to the rest of your team. So if they come behind you pretty much immediately, they're seeing like, oh, tomorrow I've got this because Matt just scheduled me 19 things to do and I can only do 3. I mean, I'm sure you don't ever do that.
Everything is automated in here. And so if you did something, then, 30 seconds later, the entire software and everybody that has access to it sees it. Yeah. Even in our workflow, everything's automated. There's no like, oh, I made an appointment, so now I have to put it into this scheduled appointment box. No, it goes there. When a job gets confirmed, we don't have to pull it from proposals and drag it along the workflow. It goes to the contract bin. Everything is, there's even a button on here called automation. And you can, if you don't like that it's going slower than you would want, but it does go really quick, you would just hit this run automation button and then it'll refresh the whole entire software and
push everything through. That's cool.
Sometimes it can go up,
very cool.
You get the gist. That's what the point of it is. It's like it's refreshing everything across everything and getting you back up. But usually you don't need it. It just, moves itself along.
Yeah. I think the subcontractor part, when we were talking about that too, is an important aspect. I've talked about this on the show a couple times now, that we describe, like, we use Company Cam to get the information out to our subcontractors because it allows us, it's a platform where we can put work orders, we can put pictures, I can put additional information, I can put videos in there and make that happen for the subcontractor, but it keeps them out of my CRM because I really don't need them to know anything in there. But there is something that I've seen over the last couple of days, and I figured we're going to kind of wrap things up with this, Matt, because I think this is the true wave of the future. There's an app called Motion, okay? And I keep getting it on my phone because, dadgummit, I talk about AI too much, apparently. But it is an AI calendar. And the thing learns literally what you do and what you need to do. And then it starts making suggestions and starts planning your entire schedule and calendar. So I watched a video like 3 days ago. And like I said, now all my phone is you need a buzz app. Of course I do. But it's an incredible, like watching the person go through their life and seeing this stupid app making suggestions and understanding like, oh, your normal routine, you normally drive from your house to the office, 4:59 a.m. to 5:13 a.m. So it's like putting these things in place as it's learning. And I'm like, I'm just going, this is incredible. I'm like, can you start scheduling my jobs? Like if I put it in, and here's the thing. I think that's where this is going, man. Like, I think there's something, and I had a thought. So I'm going to throw this out there to all the CRM, because I got a bunch of people that have CRMs besides you that listen and watch the show. But I'm almost wondering, even if we get to the point where if the AI is integrated into our scheduling softwares or programs, that when we get in the morning and we have those situations like, I mark today's a rain day, and you click a button, all of a sudden, 80 different things happen, and all the customers are notified. Hey, this is the team over at Radius Gate and Fence Company, and we just want to let you know, with the weather that rolled in today, we're going to be, we're kind of right. Yeah. It's going to shift it back. Now your tentative start date is, Wednesday, blah, blah, blah. And, and it just starts a chain reaction across the board. But, this AI technology stuff is crazy, but I love it that the computers can learn enough and understand and integrate. What do you think? You're doing a lot of open-end platform development with your system, and you've been involved this from a fence guy's perspective. What do you think about all the AI stuff and this technology, like where it's been?
Oh, it's unbelievable. I mean, to your point, I didn't really care much for technology at all until a couple of years ago. I mean, I guess I was doing it, but I wasn't doing it thinking about it. I was creating these spreadsheets and doing the cloud, and I was mixing it up with what felt like not technology to me. It was just, oh, that's computer stuff. Then as this stuff started going around, and I'm in an entrepreneurs group, which I'm going to be going to today, and I met developers, and they were telling me like, oh, your ideas are technology, and we can put this. It's been a year and a half, year and 3/4 since I've started developing this, and it is insane. I am in this, but just with, I'm sure every single technology, every CRM, you scratch the surface with the ability of what it can do, and you're already so much more efficient than you were, and you're at the basis level of it. And what's left is, it's daunting because there's so many things. This is, again, for the people that are seeing it, the software doesn't have anything in it that says install. This is 100 more things that could be added to it, and I don't even know what any of them mean. Like, listen to what you're saying. You're right. I don't see why a calendar couldn't. We do it in our minds. It rained today. Let's reevaluate the schedule. Right. It just changed. Now it moves these many. Imagine that. So yeah, to your point, I think we're scratching the surface of what these things are going to be able to do and how they're going to change for us. I'm learning a lot, and it's really cool how with technology, people open up their systems to be able to merge with one another, to be able to become more powerful. Fence is starting to get a little bit like that. It never was ever, but people like you or me, I feel like 5 years ago, maybe never meet, right? I mean, maybe we go to a national fence convention and maybe we rub shoulders and talk, but now with everything going on, now fences tighten it too. So it's really cool seeing how technology and AI is pulling together and pushing the world. It's going to be fun.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that's that's a cool part about all of this is, we're just trying to make our own lives easier. Yeah. I mean, really, at the end of the day, it's like, how can I make less stress for myself? And then I just like seeing everyone out there asking questions and trying to get in and understanding there's so many different ways to do this. There's different tools that do different things. And some tools like Elite Technique, you have a lot of integration for, to be able to do things from the bids to the drawings to the work orders to the scheduling and everything like that. Some people like me still, shameless plug for my process. We use the My Salesman's into our job Nimbus CRM. And then we use our ArcSite programs and Company Cam. And we've created our own platform with using these technologies, but there's so many different ways you can do it. There's so many different options. I think that's the fun thing about this, Matt, all the time is people are out there asking, what should I do? And it's like, it's kind of like saying how do I build a fence? Yeah. I'm like, guess what? You and I are both going to think that there's a different right way to do it. You sent me that picture of your privacy fence the other day. Yes. Remember? And I said, what the freak? I never build a fence like that. But that's what's cool about this is I feel like is social media and technology is making the world smaller. It is really cool to see how different we are, but we all share the same common threads. And I think that's my political soapbox for the day. Is all these times we think that we're our echo chambers that we live in, or the parts of the country, just in the United States, where we live, this is the way things should be, But then you start to talk to other people and you see different sides of the world that we're all looking in the same sphere. We're just looking at it from different angles, and construction's no different, man, at all. So I appreciate you, man. Is there anything as we wrap this thing up, put a bow on it? Is there anything you want to leave everyone with? I know scheduling is a monster and there's no right answer. I think that's probably the thing we can take away from this. for sure. But yeah, what do you got, man? You got any?
Thank you.
Thoughts?
I appreciate it, man. Like you said, guess becoming a friend of the show is number 3 now, and I appreciate your time. I look up to you, and I listen to every one of your episodes for learning. You know, I love the content, and I just thank you for having me back on again. I appreciate the ability to come on and talk with you.
Absolutely, buddy. Well, we appreciate you being here. Thank you for sharing your inside baseball type stuff of JC Fence. And yeah, if you guys want to check out again, Elite Technique, Matt, what's that website again? For
GetEliteTechnique.com. And there's actually a beautiful, handsome man on there doing a podcast with me. So you guys can watch the podcast with Nathan and I to just kind of get the workflow down. This actually happened months ago, and the software has already changed dramatically. A lot of your advice that you gave me on the podcast, I've taken to heart, and I've made changes already. So it's not like it was then, but at least gives you guys an idea. And then I'm on Instagram too, at Elite Technique LLC. So if you want to see me, I'm there.
And then on the fence company side, we got JC Fence, North Shore. You got a bunch of different branches.
Yeah, at JC Fence North Shore. That's my Instagram tag. JCFenceNorthShore.com is the website. That's my heart, my whole life. Family owned and operated business. We're out of Middleton, Massachusetts. Been doing fence since 1972. So that's what got me to this point with you.
And here we are. So, well, guys, that wraps up this show today. We appreciate Matt, as always, coming on, talking about this. Hey, if you guys have questions or comments or want to get involved in conversations about scheduling, I mean, like I said, there is no right or wrong answer to this. We are all trying to figure it out, and it changes by the day. Everyone that's involved in construction knows that this is not simple. This is not easy, but we're just trying to figure out ways to make our lives a little bit less hectic and chaotic, however that looks. So, yeah, that's all we got. We appreciate you guys. We'll see you on the next episode.
You've been listening to the Protecting Your Radius podcast from the Luxecore Studios in Bixby, Oklahoma. Thanks for sticking around, and connect with us and all of our partners at www.protectingyourradius.com. We want to thank our premier partners, Luxecore, the newest line of premium quality composite infill to slide into your FenceTrac fence system. Frame your style today. Also, FenceTrac, the world's first patented standalone stain machine. Utilizing flood coat technology, FenceTrac covers boards, pickets, posts, and any type of dimensional wood you can think of. And what better way to use your FenceTrac machine than to use the easy application Wood Defender family of stains. Wood Defender goes on easy and covers in one coat with no backbrushing. And of course, the true power of our show is you, the listener. Please rate and review our show on whatever platform you consume this content. Your 5-star likes and reviews help other contractors get the message that we all want to be better and do better. And in the construction world, we can never forget that before you can be great, you've got to be good. Before you can be good, you've got to be bad. But before you can even be bad, you've got to try.